there in the bottom right. Make some noise for MMA. And his opponent over here in the upper left in the blue. Give it up for Bomber.
A lot of Bomber fans here, a veteran in the American scene, back in the olden MLG days, playing in all those tournaments.
So, you know, TVT, let's talk about this just as a mirror matchup. There are so many different builds that still allow you to develop into late game with different army comps, different army compositions, which is really important to keep in mind. Now, with these two players here, you got Bomber and MMA, do you expect to see, we could split this down into three basic parts. Are we going to see all bio, which is not as popular anymore? Are we going to see Marine Siege Tank? Or are we going to see some more mech here from these two on this map specifically?
On the more simple maps, bio tank. But if anyone's going to use mech today in one of these maps, it's going to be Bomber for sure.
Yeah, Bomber is so good at opening like that. We did have a gas first here for Bomber.
Both players going to be playing aggressive in this game. We talked about who wants to take that risk, who wants to go for that style on a small map like this. Both of them will.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see then when we have a smaller unit sets here, nobody going for a fast expand, obviously, a small number of units, how they're going to control that. MMA, you know, when you were taught by somebody like Slayer's Boxer, and I know we do have a lot of new viewers here who are not familiar with, you know, 15 years of StarCraft history, but Slayer's Boxer was, for a period of time, the undisputed best StarCraft 1 player, and he was winning based off the tactics he used, based off how he controlled his army and how he outmaneuvered his opponent. So you got to think MMA learned a lot from someone like that going into this.
Absolutely, and we should be seeing both of these players aim towards Banshees in this game.
Yeah, I think so.
The one thing though, when you're both going Cloak Banshees, for example, you don't really have detection. So if either of them spots what's going on, for example, MMA is the player that's moving out on the map to scout, what happens if he changes to a Raven? What happens if he sets up defensively against an aggressive player here? He's already spotted the factory, he's seen the barracks, he knows that his opponent has gone for gas first, compared to Bomber, who's seen nothing.
Exactly, and granted, he didn't even scout that gas first. He knows because of how early that structure is there. And also know Bomber, you know, not even interested in scouting here, actually, telling us right now that he is pretty much playing a well-rounded build, in his view at least, that can counter pretty much whatever his opponent's going to throw at him. Now, I don't know about you, I personally don't tend to play StarCraft like that. I always feel like I have to scout, but you know, Bomber's very good at this style of play, and this is how many of the Koreans opt to approach a lot of the matchups on a lot of these different maps.
I'm exactly like you here. I would prefer in this position to be MMA. You know what's coming. If you know already what's coming here, then you can start to adapt to it. But Bomber, on the other hand, is looking to execute a well-orchestrated attack.
Absolutely. It'll also depend on when they do move their armies out here. You know, this is one of these situations where you can have your small army suddenly get put in a bad spot. Let's say you just lose a handful of Marines. That's a lot early on here, despite how expendable Marines are overall in the long term. In a situation like this, absolutely, it could be dangerous. We do see now that Cloak is being researched here.
Wow, look at this Bomber. This is very extraordinary
here.
I
like this a lot.
I think that he was originally planning to be aggressive, but upon his opponent scouting him, he was predicting that MMA would open up aggressive himself and most likely change over to playing a Raven style. Bomber's the one that's actually going for a Raven here, completely blind. He's actually, despite not scouting,
this is pretty funny. You know what this tells me is that he is so confident he knows how MMA is going to play, that beyond it, not just scouting, and then just seeing that MMA brushed by with an SCV and spotted a few structures, he already is hard countering this Banshee. When the Raven comes out here, he's going to set up his Marines in such a way so that as the Banshee comes in, he can get right underneath it, gun it down, and this Banshee, I can't emphasize how much MMA has invested in capital, and this Banshee has to pay for itself and more if this strategy is going to be successful. So watch here as this Banshee approaches and see, can it do a lot of damage? Will it get shot down? Because that's going to change the course of this game.
I cannot explain how surprised MMA will be upon realizing that there's a Raven here.
Now he's kept the Raven back there, okay? He did not show the Raven, and that's very intentional. He wants to chisel off a few more HP on that Banshee and maybe bring that Banshee back in. Now we see the Banshee is southbound right now. So he's not even going to risk it, it looks like. A lot of other players would use that Banshee for a longer period of time, try to do more damage here and there. Now we have MMA pushing out, and that's probably why he wanted to keep the Banshee with that. He wanted to regroup and then push north.
He saw his opponent just very defensively up his ramp here, and he didn't want to lose it, and now he's got all his units together. A tank, Banshee, Marine push out here could really delay Bomber from taking his expansion fast.
Absolutely. We do have actually both players moving out here. There is a high chance of an engagement here in the middle. We have the command center now coming up here for Bomber. Bomber transitioning nicely into the early mid game here. And here is Bomber now. He wants to go for the watchtowers. He might not go for a full-on attack here. He may just want to try to get you know, some map control here. Meanwhile, the Banshee is now going to slide into the upper left corner here. How much damage is this Banshee going to do versus how much damage is the potential counterattack here of Bomber?
Tasteless, MMA knows where his opponent's army is. This Banshee's with Cloak, there is no detection. The Raven's on the other side, there's no engineering bay, there's no turrets, there's a single scan here, but remember there's a second Banshee on the natural as well.
Okay, so two Banshees now gunning down workers very quickly, and it looks like that Banshee in the upper left is going to get back. Meanwhile, a push down here, but Siege Tank's ready. The Cloak Banshee still maneuvering around right now. Nowhere really that Bomber can mine from comfortably. He's now maneuvered down here over to the second. This should force a liftoff.
Yeah, this is a really peculiar situation right now. This Banshee is in there, both of them just doing so much damage. There are hardly any SCVs left here in Bomber's base.
I mean, Bomber's economy is completely stifled. And here's the problem. I don't see Bomber getting up onto the high ground there that MMA controls. The Banshees have now been cleaned up. They both took... Whoa, okay, quick GG there.
Bomber lost his Raven in that attack.
Yeah.
He lost all his...
Noise for MMA. And his opponent down here in the bottom right. Make some noise for Bomber.
All right, well, Bomber now needs to not let nerves get to him coming into this second series. In a best of 5, when a player goes up 2-0, it is difficult to make the comeback to win 3 games in a row.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Do you think we're going to see MMA open up with a similar build here? I expect Bomber to not, by the way, before you answer that. I expect Bomber to go for the macro game here.
Yeah, on Frost here, it's a lot more difficult and risky to play aggressive on. So sometimes we do see players open up with even a command center first here.
Yeah, we do actually a lot. They're going to be hugging a lot of the right side of the map here. In certain circumstances, you can hide a base on the left side because a lot of times that does get neglected in situations like this. So you got to be very careful to scout the entire map the entire time. It's not one of these maps where you'll naturally pass by a lot of expansions. You really have to keep your eye out for everything.
And as we can see in the game, neither of the players have taken a gas or a barracks, so they are going to be expanding to a second location very, very early on here. And I really believe this is how MMA wanted this series to play out. He picked a bigger map. He wants to get to the mid-game. MMA made his name on being at the mid part of a game, using medivacs, harassing, dropping everywhere, and playing to his fast speed.
Yeah, it's so cool when, you know, you get a mirror matchup like this, but play styles that are just so radically different here. We do have MMA scouting. That is similar to the last game. MMA does elect to scout. Bomber, once again, telling us that that one extra SCV that he could use to scout around the map is so important simply for the additional minerals he can mine from at home.
And also he has the command center straight on the low ground. He's not just going half-heartedly here by putting it inside the main base. He's just straight down on the low ground.
Yeah, this is it's a bit gutsy. It's a bit greedy. He's saying I want to get as much income as humanly possible because I don't like the early game that much. I like, at the bare minimum, surviving the early game. Where I want to be is in the late game. I want to tech. I want to produce. I want to make that war machine that I'm going to crush my opponent with.
And both players have opted to take a gas as well. This is because neither of them know what each other's doing. And they want to take a gas because they do want to aim up towards the factory. The factory and starport tech is the best defensive tech because the units you get from these, Hellions, Vikings, Ravens, all very good defensively. If they were just left on barracks and Marines. That's not so good if someone was aggressive.
Yeah,
here.
you get great deflection with that unit comp there. Now here's the first scouting SCV coming out here, heading over to MMA's base. He is going to spot this bunker here. Now we'll see how much farther along he gets in here, and if he spots that. Okay, well the SCV being there alone is a bit of a tell, but you know, with the players at this level, there are a lot of mind games, so he can't 100% confirm that there's going to be an expansion there. But the bunker is a tell. We have seen some, you know, cheeses where you do put the bunker on the low ground, but you're actually teching to something else.
And likewise, MMA moves down and sees 3 Marines in a bunker being built. So even though they 100% haven't seen what each other are doing, they can guess that this is most likely what's happening here.
Absolutely. Now here comes a starport. And that will be swapped with the add-on over here from the barracks. Meanwhile, not really a different tech route at all here from our other Terran player. We have another SCV just backing up here. And this game should begin to normalize. This should be a point in time where I don't think either player is going to really hurt the other one. And the only circumstance I can imagine is, let's say that they were to move out on the map at a weird period of time, but I highly doubt that'll happen.
Well, Bomber's just scanned MMA and has seen that the factory has a tech lab. He doesn't know if it is a tank or Banshee being built. You actually can't tell at this point. It could be either. But Bomber, before he scanned, already made a decision to build a Widow Mine. Oh, actually, did he cancel it? Okay, he cancelled it.
Yeah.
He cancelled it there. He was looking to maybe go for Medivac and film kind of some form of drop play here. But upon scanning, he decided not to go for that and is just going to continue on.
Now, we do have Cloak being researched here. And we'll see how much damage the Banshee can actually do. It's usually pretty predictable in these two starting locations where the Banshee is going to come in. And we do have now the Watchtower here being controlled right now by MMA. That's going to be very helpful here as he can try to move that out without being punished. Now the drop here from Bomber is heading up. Let's see, does he have the defense over here at the second? He has some Marines moving over here, but I'm pretty sure that should be able to unload and heal up before he can stop this.
Well, there is a Banshee there as well. It just depends on where the Banshee is when the Medivac comes across.
Yeah, the Banshee has to turn around immediately. So he boosts in there, unloads these Marines now, and the Banshee is doing some damage. He picks up, actually getting 7 Marines out now and returning. Now the hand has been tipped that the Banshee tech is underway, so now it's going to be his turn. A turret there because that's the most logical. I mean, if you're going to have a beeline for where the Banshee's going to go, it's going to go into that turret. So he now backs up. Let's see if he can maneuver around and do a little bit more damage.
Almost predictable gameplay here from MMA, going for a Banshee, and Bomber with an engineering bay and turret, and then the drop as well. I think he's set himself up really nicely here. He's got into the mineral line, he's picked off an SCV or 2, and this Banshee's going to have a very hard time doing damage. MMA behind this has gone for a 3rd command center, which means his tech's incredibly late because he's not sure how much damage this Banshee can do.
Another drop over here, and it is deflected with ease right now. Both these guys having some pretty solid defense now. The humiliated Medivac now returning back home here for Bomber.
Unfortunately for MMA, with this Banshee, which isn't doing any big damage here, and he realized that that may be an option, I mean, not really an option, but it may not do damage, he decides to go 3 command centers, which delays his tech a lot. He's playing very greedy, double engineering bay. There is absolutely an opportunity here for Bomber to put a lot of pressure on. He has stim, he has tanks, he has medivacs. Well,
yeah,
and
we're seeing this barracks explosion here. He's going to pick up again now. Now the question is, where will he go? He wants to avoid that Viking. He doesn't want to be seen there. We'll see, does a Viking spot that? Now with boost, those medivacs get there a little bit quicker. But then you got to ask, where is he going to drop over here?
Well, MMA realizes the threat. He's got tanks in each mineral line. He realizes this could be a possibility.
Okay, so this is going to be a double-edged sword here for Bomber. If Bomber comes in here and, let's say, loses these 2 medivacs and all the Marines in it and doesn't do the damage he needs to do, it could be disastrous. Here comes the drop now.
Oh, how much damage is he going to get done? There is a tank there, and these Marines do not have combat shield. They do not have stim either. And he does boost out there. Didn't really lose too much, though.
Yeah, he didn't lose too much. Unfortunately, he wasn't really able to punish his opponent in any way. The Banshee's now back in here. In fact, that's going to be depleted of any energy. So he's just going to go ahead and run that as far away as possible.
And here's a first-person shot from MMA right now, who's, you know, all over the place. He's macroing up. He's got his 3rd command center. But I really want to point out something very important in this game. There is no 3rd command center from Bomber. He has no intentions, Tasteless, of playing this a very long game. He knows his opponent has 3 command centers. He's going to try and end this game very fast.
Yeah. This is all going to come down to one big timing here. We'll see how effective that's actually going to be. A lot of this will be based off, for instance, the position of the siege tanks, okay?
Yeah.
The arcing of the Marines. I mean, you know, out of almost all the things in StarCraft 2, when you get two Marine arcs, how they engage each other, you know, who has the better concave versus the concave, or convex rather, that's huge. The push now is coming down here from Bomber. MMA needs to survive this. He needs to defend this and not take too much damage on an economic level, or it's going to be disastrous.
He's got to be in a very good position here with his units. He doesn't quite have the same amount of units as Bomber does.
He's expanding as we speak, and this is going to put him in a pretty fragile position. The question is, how does Bomber execute, especially against somebody like MMA who's so good at his control?
1-1 is almost done from MMA. That's great, but there is no combat shields. Combat shields is massive in this. It really will be a difference between a win or a lose.
All right, he's now driving Bomber back, sieging up. Now, that's exactly what he wants to do, is just get him into siege mode. The siege tanks can't do any damage from there. Now, MMA sieging up his own siege tanks. Now, he's going to get in the line. Now, we do occasionally see impulse mass pickups here from the medevacs, so they take the entire army, and that's what we're going to have right now.
Bomber realizes that he's not going to break the front wall. He's going to drop in the main base. How well is MMA going to deal with this?
He needs to get up there now.
Uh-oh, I don't think he's going to be there in time.
He might be able to pick up with his own medevacs and meet him there, sieging on the low ground. That's what he's going to do. Unloading now over here. Stimming and now moving forward.
Oh, no combat shields. These units are dying really fast.
Bomber with a really nice arc there. And he is over the production facility. So, for instance, that siege tank that just popped out, going to be taken out. He's going to get a little bit greedy, though. He's going to edge forward with his siege tank. All these medevacs healing up these Marines. Going into first person now for Bomber.
And Bomber, man, Bomber is all over the shop right now. He's inside this main base here, Tasteless. And this is going to be very difficult for MMA to deal.
Yeah, you know, MMA, the fact he's going to pick up here and an attack coming around here from behind at what is basically a naked third base.
Oh no, Bomber is moving forward here. MMA's in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have that many units to defend this.
And
he's going to drop on the tanks.
He's going to Marine dump on the tanks.
Oh, Tasteless.
I think MMA might be dismantled. I think we may be going into game 3 here if MMA can't stop this soon.
That's right, the third base has been broken. There are no further upgrades coming in for MMA. He's behind in supply, he's behind in economy now.
And you know what's also important to note is that there are all the medevacs from that initial drop survive. So he can now pick up and do this again. The third command center goes down. Things looking very shaky for MMA with a 93 supply to 134.
Yeah, that was an incredible time net from Bomber, taking a 30 supply lead in this game. And he's going to continue on. He'll build a third command center. He's getting his armory for further his upgrades. But one thing to note, though, despite MMA being pushed back, he does have 2-2 on the way. He will have combat shields on the way.
That's true.
So eventually, he will have a strong army again.
He will have, like, in a way, the better units. Yeah, but it's also a question of, you know, size mattering here. You could see a Bomber hungry to end this, but MMA is basically turtled up right now. He is not interested in letting his opponent get any closer here.
This is a very naked main base here for MMA. Bomber has a lot of units in these medivacs. If he's able to unload inside the main base again, I think that could be game over. If he can loop
around, yeah, I think you're totally right, Apollo. I think if he loops around, which he's doing right now, hitting the production facilities, I don't know if MMA can survive this.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult for MMA to survive, and Bomber has played this out absolutely beautifully, and again, the SCBs are getting picked off. The production is falling.
Yeah, he's going to get that starport again, which means no more medevacs again here. Medevacs playing a critical role right now. Another army regrouping down here on the low ground, picking up and leaving after doing the optimal amount of damage. Bomber is playing brilliantly.
And he's got his third command center up and running. He's got 59 Marines to 34. He's doubling his opponent's army supply at this point almost. Bomber, what a great game from him coming into this second map.
Backing up now. We do see there was one medevac out there for MMA. I think he's decided probably he shouldn't drop. He probably needs everything he can get. Oh no! Losing that medevac. It's too bad because I was actually headed back to help defend here. MMA going to try to shove Bomber out now. Pushing down again here. Going to get those siege tanks there at the bottom. He's going to get that medevac. And he does not, but he does get that one tank.
Yeah, nice save there by Bomber, getting those 2 tanks. And he now is mining successfully from a third base. All the numbers are in favor of Bomber here. 94 supply to 72. He's got more workies. He's going to have a better infrastructure the longer this game goes on. MMA, if he wants to be able to get back into this game, has to do something soon. Otherwise, it's going to be too late.
Yeah, and are we going to get this starport to get killed? It looks like no, it's not going to. It is getting repaired. Now, Bomber's got to be careful because for all the damage he's dealing, if he's not saving some of those units, he is starting to just slowly and surely get behind. Now, we do have Bomber secured with that third. I think it's almost Bomber's turn to start going into the defensive mode here and go to, you know, chapter 2 of late game here with a massive army. Probably as MMA tries to take his third base, and as I say that, he's trying to take his third base, so we might see that attack shortly here.
Yeah, we could see that command center picked off here if MMA's out of position.
And let's see, this would actually be a great drop here, just here on the high ground like this.
He doesn't see it.
He did not even, he did not react there. Let's see. Now he's landing. Will he go to the main? That could also hurt.
Yeah.
All the MMA siege tanks, by the way, guys, basically in the middle of the map. But the problem for Bomber is he doesn't quite know where the army is, so he's not sure. He could have dropped there in the main and probably did a lot more damage. Bullying at the command center now. Command center getting low, half health, 1/3 health, and it's gone.
And MMA says, all right, you've got me. I've got one last push in me, but look, Bomber's ready. He's got so many Marines. And he says, you know what?
That's going to be it. GG. Bomber.
Yeah, I mean, that is what we're going to see here. In just a regular Terran versus Terran, if we didn't know who the players were, we didn't know what the stage was, this looks like both players are going for Cloak Banshees once again. A very standard opening, but there are mind games. Both the players prepared for each other. They've known each other. We're going to face off for a very long time here. They know each other's styles.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a really good point, is out of all the matchups you have, this phase of the tournament, you absolutely had the most preparation for, right?
Yeah.
Because upsets are going to occur as you get later on in the bracket. Then you might be thinking, what? Am I playing this guy? I totally thought deeper in the bracket I'd face somebody else. So that's something to factor in as well. Now we have the factory and the starport being parked next to each other, which obviously the starport will be swapped with the factory tech lab add-on. And from there, that's really when we get to see what is the plan going into this.
Yeah, Bomber decided to take a later second gas here, so he's not going to be able to afford a Banshee and Cloak at the exact same time here. So he may decide to go over towards a single Banshee without Cloak, and then expand it a little bit faster than his opponent. That is one of the options he can go for here.
Sure.
But MMA has dedicated to gas. He's got too early, and he should be looking, unless we see just a Raven build, which is a little bit weird. It should be Cloak.
Yeah, okay, and there it is, Cloak. Now on the way, the Banshee coming out here for both players. But we do not have that Cloak there from Bomber.
Yeah, no Cloak, and he's got the reactor on the factory here. So we will be looking to go over for Hellions for the time being after this.
All right, and we have a Widow Mine here from MMA, which is going to bring out. Now, I'm wondering, you know, you can catch a Banshee or a Medevac or anything else flying in there.
Yeah.
If you can guess the right spot they're going to fly in, you can instantly get a huge lead by catching that with a Widow Mine.
I mean, when a Widow Mine is borrowed, it's going to require scans. And if enemy is also going for Cloak Banshees, how many scans does Bomber really have to defend both?
How much scan is it even really worth it then? Because obviously, if you're scanning, you're not landing mules, and then even if you're getting ahead in intel, you're getting behind in you know, your economy.
Oh, this Banshee in the center of the map here will pass the Widow Mine.
Okay, he spotted the Widow Mine.
Oh, well,
that Widow Mine was taken out. Nice play there. Now we have MMA and the Bomber, the Banshees high-fiving past each other here. Now let's see how much damage each of these Banshees can do. This is a tricky part in the early game here of TVT because you're attacking and defending at the same time, which requires a lot of multitasking.
That's right, and Bomber has a scan available. Likewise does MMA.
Now this is a good choice here to get this SCV making the command center. He'll now go up towards the main here. Now, he wants to make sure that Banshee, when he scans, can't get out.
Oh, nice move there. Over the command center so the Marines don't get close enough.
The Raven now coming up here. Now that Banshee can still kite these Marines, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now throwing down an auto turret. Now that was not quite a success. He probably would have wanted to kill the Banshee at least there. But the Banshee is now, is he going to get away?
MMA.
2 HP.
And he gets a couple of SCVs and quite a lot of Marines with that. That was a successful Banshee.
A frustrating moment here is with just that Raven, he can't actually go over there and do the damage he wants to do. The Banshee can now return home and get repaired.
And as you can see, Bomber's Banshee's really not going to do anything there. He was focusing very heavily on defending, and MMA won that fight. He was the faster player. He dealt the damage and defended at the same time compared to Bomber, who tried to do both but didn't really defend that well.
All right, now he's spotted this Banshee over here. This Banshee will not be able to get away here. So that is one good thing going for him. MMA now bringing that injured Banshee back. And it looks like now Bomber is going to end up getting that second base a little bit later here than MMA. But MMA did not even start his gases yet, that expansion. And the SCVs are only just now getting there. So it's not too much of a deficit, really.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the success of the Banshees, I'd favor MMA. But he also did dedicate to Cloak, where his opponent didn't.
Right.
So overall, it does balance itself out.
So things are starting to calm down a little bit here, as they are going to start to do what we would call powering here in StarCraft 2, just getting more and more structures to crank out more and more units. This map is going to be interesting for these two. It looks like we're probably going to transition into just Marine Siege Tank right now. From there, it's going to be a lot about positioning. This is going to be like a really fast-paced chess game. You know, if you get in one bad spot, you're going to lose. Yeah,
in such a defensive map here, as long as you've got your turrets in position to defend against drops, you should be seeing it, as you described, become a positionally based game. Tanks, Marines moving around, lots of scans, identifying where your opponent's army is. And this one could actually be a very long game here.
Now, another question to kind of go off this whole situation that these two players are going to be in here is the question, when do I move out and actually try to secure those important positions on the map? Because if you do it too soon and do it in the wrong spot, boom, you're done. But let's say that you're too conservative and you wait too long, and by the time you opt to move out on the map, nobody's there. By the way, that Banshee getting deflected. Then you're in trouble as well.
Yeah, that's the balance, and that's where success really lies. Because if you move out with an army really very early, what happens if you get dropped at the same time? You don't have your army there anymore.
Exactly. So this is going to be a really tricky here, especially for this game being game number 3, meaning the winner is only going to have to win one more game after this. You know, the pressure is really on. Now we have this army moving out here. Are these Vikings going to catch this Banshee? They do. Nicely done. And it does look like Bombers so far are going to be the first to try to move out on the map here. Not with his whole ground army, but just with some of that air army. MMA coming in here now, hitting some SCVs.
Yeah, that's the same Banshee from earlier on in this game. And it's come back to haunt Bomber a little bit, and has found a sweet spot here where there's no target.
15 kills on that Banshee so far. Taking out more and more SCVs. Bomber not quite driving this out as fast as I would have expected. And you could see he's just continuing to move around here. It looks like Bomber wanted to catch potentially some drops or something like this Viking Banshee rather, outside of his base.
This Banshee.
Look at how much damage this Banshee's doing. This is actually weird. 22 kills now.
22 kills. It got 11 SCVs throughout this game, and that Banshee has really paid for itself. And in the supply at the top of the screen, even though this game looks very even, it is even, but MMA definitely has a bit of an edge. Not a big one, but a bit of an edge.
I was really surprised that Banshee did that much damage in that last attack there. It looked like something that should have been driven out easily, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, 22 kills on it. Okay, so Bomber saying, well, I've suffered some losses here. I will be the first to initiate the map control, but I believe we do have a drop.
Tasteless, this could be a really big move for this game.
Okay, this is going to be tough, man, because if the drop hits here and there's not enough to defend, he's going to take out the production facilities. At the same time, if MMA's entrance is not guarded here well enough, Bomber kicks in the front door and could win that way as well.
Oh my God, there's 2 tanks for MMA a little bit out of position. I think he realizes the Bomber's coming.
God. Moving in here now, stimming up and sieging up.
Oh, that's a beautiful position for Bomber, really beautiful, but there is the drops on the same side on the other. They need to do a lot of damage down here.
All right, throwing down these auto turrets to soak up some damage. Meanwhile, the drop from MMA a bit too late as the command center over here on the left going to go down. Repairing, he needs to keep the CC alive.
Oh, the CC will stay alive for now. This drop has landed though. Combat shields is a difference between these two players, but there's almost the same Marine count here for Bomber.
Yeah, the drop is just too small. In fact, he can just bring his workers here. I think Bomber may have won this game. I mean, I can't imagine Bomber letting MMA out of this caged position here.
This is so unfortunate, I feel, for MMA. One single Marine spotting this army moving across the map. He could have dealt with it, but it's too late. There's too many tanks. There's too many Marines.
All right, throwing down a few turrets here, but GG.
Oh,
nicely
MMA.
done there by Bomber. Yeah, the Marine tank engagements, if the game goes in that direction, it's going to be critical that in the course of just a few seconds, you are going to be in the winning position because, you know, Marines, they deal damage so fast, but they die so quickly that things snowball. I mean, literally in just a few seconds. Our map is now loading up, and we're going to go ahead and intro our two players here. This is the WCS Global Finals. Our first best of 5 here, a Terran versus Terran between these two titans, MMA and Bomber, on the map, Derelict Watcher. In the upper right, in the red, the terrifying late game Terran. He is Bomber. I almost did the GSL intro there. I was waiting for the voice to come up. All right. Down here in the bottom left, make some noise for MMA.
Tasteless, my friends.
Yes, yes.
I was going to ask you a question whether MMA would be nervous to play this next game, but look on the map. Look at what's moving across to the other side very early on here.
Oh, noes. What's that SCV up to? Oh.
This is an 8 barracks.
Yep.
An 8 refinery, I imagine, would come right behind this. And we are going to see a very early play here from MMA.
Yep. MMA going for aggression here. Now, there's a lot on the line right now. If this doesn't work out, I mean, that's going to be a tough plane trip home.
We may have a command center first coming out from Bomber
right
now.
Oh my God, that
against a proxy barracks.
This could be disastrous here. MMA, you know, he learned from the best of the best, Slayer's Boxer, and it looks like he brought perhaps the right build order to, at the bare minimum, bring us to game number 5. Look at the minerals piling up here for Bomber.
Wow.
That can only tell us one thing.
He will be expanding again very, very early on. Before Bomber's barracks even begins, there is a Reaper on the way.
A Reaper has started. And you got to think, with somebody who's got the control like MMA, will that Reaper ever die? Oh my God!
This will not be spotted.
Barely grazing by that.
And this is almost an automatic loss here. This is going to be very, very, very difficult for Bomber to hold on.
Yeah, this is about to be rock beating scissors here as far as build orders go. And unfortunately, he did not scout that in time. And, you know, seconds matter here, guys. I know that the Reapers are going to get there almost right now anyways, but every second counts. Now here comes the Reaper. He can gun down the SCV, making the barracks as well as the one making the command center. The SCVs are coming out, but the Reaper is just going to be too fast. Now, will MMA choke? Will he make some kind of mistake? He has to keep this Reaper alive.
If that Reaper got surrounded by slow SCVs, he completely messes this up. The barracks will complete, and Marine is on the way, but there's already another Reaper coming. MMA has chosen smartly here on what he was expecting his opponent to do.
And think about this. I mean, the repercussions for this. Can he even go for command center first in the next game, knowing MMA is capable of doing a rush like this?
Oh, and MMA is absolutely nailing this. The SCVs can't do anything here.
I think it's too much, Apollo. I don't know if he can stop these Reapers. Right now, Bomber microing his heart out right now. Can he get a surround?
He should just go back, wait for the third Reaper, heal up a little bit.
Yeah, regen.
And this is very difficult for Bomber to deal with. He's not mining anything right now. He has one mule.
We're going to have that third Reaper hop up here right now. And he is pushing with a bunker here. I don't know if this is going to be too effective because I don't know if he's going to have the minerals to make more Marines and bunkers, and that's going to be it. GG. MMA took a gamble, and it paid off.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about this gamble, is that Bomber was like, no, you are going to play safe. I know this means a lot to you. You will not do something to risk your tournament life on the line here. But MMA does the complete opposite to what Bomber was thinking would happen, and he's able to pick up a very easy victory.
Yeah, MMA, he brought it to game number 5. The question is, can he win there? Otherwise, Bomber is going to move on right now. Now, Bomber has to be a bit miffed about that last game. Probably confident that MMA would never win in a late game scenario. MMA, though, adroitly takes the situation and says, you'll never get to that end game scenario when you're against me, Bomber. Now, the question is, how do they play from here?
I don't know how they're going to play from here. I think that we could see 2 aggressive openings, we could see 2 defensive ones. It's really going to come down to how are they feeling personally on how this is going down.
They might end up changing build orders from what they planned here.
Absolutely.
There's a lot, and there's not a lot of time to think about. I mean,
that's the beautiful thing about StarCraft. You make these decisions just like that. In that couple of minutes break, MMA was like, all right, I have the balls to do this, Tasteless.
Yes, and it paid off, too. By the way, our map is going to be Polar Night. Now, Polar Night here, this is a kind of funky map here. We could have a lot of different ways these guys actually open up on this.
Yeah, I mean, usually I don't think we can look at tendencies for this map anymore.
Yeah, I got to agree.
5.
I got to agree with you. And there is flexibility for different stuff on this map, too, so expect anything. The world is now watching, and by tomorrow evening, we will have crowned the greatest StarCraft 2 player in the entire world here for the year 2013. And now the game has loaded up. If you're just now joining us, this is game number 5 here. One player moves on, the other one, well, his story stops here. Down here in the south, in the red with that sick all-in, he is MMA. His opponent cheesed out in that last game, but a macro god. How will he play this time around? He is Startail Bomber.
Who will be the first player to move into the quarterfinals here at Blizzcon, at the global finals? Which one of these
so
two?
much on the line here. I mean, it's close to the end of the year. This is the tournament to watch. And for it to end here, that's a tough, long plane ride home back to Korea for one of these two guys. Thinking about, should I have not been too greedy here? Should I have maybe cheesed here? Maybe I shouldn't have pushed out in this way.
Well, we have the decision from MMA on how he wants to play this game. He's decided to take a gas first here. Likewise has Bomber, just a few seconds slower than his opponent, but both players have decided to start to bring in gas nice and early.
Yeah, going for builds that were pretty similar to what we saw in the early part of this best of 5 now. Now, again, when you open up, like, I should say when both players open up like this, the early game is a bit fragile. You know,
very fragile, yeah.
You make the wrong decision somewhere, or you just are not quite on top of, let's say, that Banshee or something, or that Widow Mine, and you lose it, you're in a bad spot because you can get a pretty big lead if you win in an engagement early on and even just get the second base, because the additional minerals from that second base allow you to get that third up so easily.
And if it comes down to a battle of speed here and who can control their units at the same time while defending and just basically having a higher multitasking ability, then I really think MMA was to win if it's identical.
Well, MMA, you know, you had to probably breathe a sigh of relief there from that last strategy. It's interesting. I wonder if, you know, had MMA done, you know, a different strategy back there and won, would Bomber be going for command center first here?
Very possible.
I mean, I'm under the impression he might have wanted to go for a quicker CC, but because of the way the MMA is now approaching this, he's you know, a bit concerned. I don't want to go out like this. I might be one of the best late game Terrans of all time, but am I going to let some guy punish me and stop me from doing that? That's a problem. Now let's talk about the map for just a little bit here. This is a map that has a very big main area, so a lot of drops, you know, a lot of Banshee harass is very scary. And speaking of which, to segue nicely into this, is the starport, which has been proxied here.
That's right, and we have Hellions and Marines being constructed at home. There isn't enough gas here for Bomber to go all the way up to Banshees here, I don't think, especially because he'd have to build a tech lab on the starport, compared to if the factory built it for the starport.
You know, Apollo, it seems to me Bomber wants to beat MMA at his own game here.
Yeah, he's going to drop inside the main base with Hellions and Marines, a difficult combination to deal with.
Let's see where this SCV is going, the one that's leaving here for MMA. Okay,
he's not checking.
He's not going to check. So this starport here is going to go untouched. And this is
he may see these units though, Tasteless.
Now he sees the Marines. That's a bit suspect, but it's not a tell. Okay.
Yeah,
he
I
may
mean,
have a hunch, but then again, it is a one-on-one map, and you can do proxy strats like this specifically on this map.
I think will MMA pick up on this? Because first of all, if this, remember, neither of them are scouted. These Marines are meant to be defending at home against a possible Banshee, but why are they on the other side of the map here? MMA is building a Widowmine here. He's going for Cloak. He's moving around inside his main base here, but does he realize what's going on?
That's the big question. Is the army going to leave the base here? Ooh. Is he going to be in a good position? Boosted medevac here, coming in now, undetected.
This Banshee will help out, but how much here? MMA still does not know about this.
All right, the Hellions are coming out here. The angle for the Marines, not good right now for MMA.
Oh, the SCVs are coming offline. The Widowmine, but it's just outside of range. The Banshee comes in to help and save the day here, potentially.
A bomber completely and totally bungled this attack right now. Now, the last thing he wants to do is lose that medevac, but before I can even finish my sentence, it's taken out. And that is a lot lost there for Bomber. MMA now has that Banshee is making a beeline right now to Bomber's base, hungry to wipe out those workers.
But there's already a Viking intercepting it. Cloak isn't ready yet. It's got another 10 seconds. Will this Banshee survive?
He needs to run. It's in the red. He's getting lower.
Oh, Bomber deflects it. He deflects it.
Unbelievable. Bomber now is recouped due to shutting down that Banshee. Now, don't forget, this is a proxied starport, so MMA can opt to punish that by going out and confronting that starport and pushing it out, which is going to mess up the medevacs, the Vikings, the Banshees, everything that he would want to have in this phase of the game.
And unfortunately, there's been another Banshee being invested into. It doesn't look like it's going to do a lot of damage. It's already running out of energy.
12, 10, getting lower now. The Viking is stalking it right now. And it's now down to what, 2 and what? Oh.
Yeah, and now it's going to just be tracked all the way. And MMA has 2 Banshees that have done nothing in this game compared to Bomber, who with a couple of units did deal out damage here. Look at the SCV difference between the both of them. 19-20 right now for MMA versus 29.
And this is very early in the game. I mean, to have a supply difference like this is quite alarming. So now it looks like, you know, mind you, by the way, that Widowmine was spotted by that Banshee before it was moved out, but map control here is going to Bomber for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to Bomber here. I mean, neither of them have started a command center until just now. Bomber's decided to do that. He's at an advantage in almost every angle in this game, just due to the openings.
Yeah, as well as how he's been able to cut off, for instance, those Banshees coming out. Really nicely played here. Now let's see if MMA can kind of recoup from this situation right now. If you look at the mini-map, there's a lot of little blue dots everywhere checking around here, especially at the watchtowers. You got that starport who has not been contested yet, the Viking out there to deny, let's say, a drop, and these Hellions, excuse me, over here on the watchtower. So, I mean, real map control here for Bomber, and he is not taking any risks. I mean, he is playing so conservatively right now.
I mean, right now, MMA does not know how Bomber is playing this game. He has not scouted, he has not scanned, but he's got a lot of units and not a second command center. The biggest problem right now is that MMA is pushing out. Without a second command center, he will not survive very long in this game.
Right.
Bomber has defensive tanks already at home. Unless he's caught out of position on his natural, MMA is going to have a very hard time breaking Bomber.
Now, he's moving out here with his army. Yeah, MMA has to do damage now. I mean, the sand is running out of the hourglass right now. This is some scary stuff here.
And without a medevac, he has no way to elevate inside the main base. There's no way for him to siege up outside and bring units into the main base. The attack will only be put onto the natural. If Bomber just has a siege tank line here, but the one advantage, Tasteless, in tanks versus tanks, maybe the Vikings that MMA has can give him an edge when it comes to vision range.
That's absolutely true, Apollo. And we have that engagement coming up here now. MMA needs to break through. The siege tank fire now raining down on MMA's tanks. The Marines now pushing up. And 1 minute, Widowmine coming up here. I don't think this is enough as MMA's army is being decimated.
Bomber crushes this attack. MMA put everything into this with no command center. It's nothing.
GG.
Bomber goes into the quarterfinals here, Tasteless.